welcome back to Seasonal Spiels. We are back in the normal spot, not in my car anymore. But anyway, so again, I'm Quincy Lell.
I'm Audrey Williams.
So welcome to episode 5.
Yeah,
5.
I almost said 4. Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to be talking about, again, spoilers, because, it's airing right now. I can't really not talk about it and be spoiler-free for the current episodes, but we're talking about Dawn today, Blue Box, as well as a couple of what we want to call sleeper hits. I'm talking about one that's happening now and pitching it to Audrey.
Yeah, and I'm talking about one that's happening now and pitching it to Quincy.
Yeah.
Well, sort of pitching it to Quincy.
I mean, it's still, well, yours is bingeable, but, to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's not. But I've also been keeping up with that, I think, except for the latest episode. But it doesn't matter, we'll get to it. So, when those shows get name dropped, obviously, if you want to remain spoiler-free, I highly recommend, I'm going to be as vague and spoiler-free as possible for mine, even though I really want people to watch it, because, it deserves your awe when you see it the first time. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into it, Dawn first thing.
Yes.
So, if you're watching it, definitely a risque anime is the best way to put it. Definitely more mature for a Shonen Jump title.
I do forget that it's in Shonen Jump, actually.
Yeah, I'm like, are we sure? I mean, to be fair, AOT was there, and Chainsaw Man. But I don't...
Oh, yeah, actually.
yeah, there's been a lot.
Now that you mentioned that, that's fair.
But definitely, yeah, I'm not going to talk about the plot too much, because if you know what's happening, I don't want to say that on YouTube. I'm going to be real. It's kind of... It's definitely wacky, but if you like wacky, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So personally for me, it feels like a breath of fresh air. It's very One Piece-y right now, because I feel like all the Shonen Jumps that have been either getting animated or just hits in Shonen Jump period are just so mature and dark. JJK just ended, but let's be real, that vibe is still there, right? We still have Chainsaw Man there. I'm just kind of disillusioned with certain, I just need something that's more positive and uplifting with levity. I don't, my life feels kind of sad sometimes. I don't want to be crying over dead characters either. So, This feels refreshing to me. Mm-hmm. I'm also a One Piece fan, so wacky is right up my alley.
Yeah, similar thoughts on Dawn for me. I don't know, I think, the main thing drawing me to it is the character dynamics. Ogurun and Ayase themselves are really, because I'm also not, caught up on the last 2 episodes, because I know more characters get introduced, I think, in those 2.
I mean,
or maybe in the 5th.
Okay. Characters have been, shown that are in the intro,
yeah,
but not, properly introduced yet. It was in the preview, probably we're gonna get to know more of them. I watched up to episode 5 right now, and
I'm up to episode 3.
Yeah, so just, where we're at and what our thoughts are so far.
I really I just finished the episode where Ayase's grandmother gets introduced.
She's great. Love
and
her.
She's interestingly dressed for that entire episode. But her introduction of her trying to immediately not exercise Turbo Granny necessarily, but just I guess kill Ogurun by extension, because she is introduced immediately trying to kill the spirit, which would by extension I guess kill Ogurun. But the way that she goes about it with her bat that turns into a pencil that she's drawing with is really cool.
I love it.
I don't know, her weapon is interesting.
Yeah, I think also just her attitude, considering how we are first introduced to her in Momo's flashbacks.
Oh, true.
Completely different person. Right?
Yeah, I was expecting, a little, maybe not little old lady, but, I was not expecting what we got, for sure,
which
with
is
her.
good. It's funny. Mm-hmm. I also like how, what we get is her saying, the pop star, is, has a wife, and they have a child or something, and then he's like, of course, and everyone's like, of course he doesn't, and then it comes out in the news, oh, yes, these are true. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, okay. Interesting. That's what she does for a living.
Yeah, she's watching her, well, I guess, or not, predicting what's going on.
Kind of almost unveiling the truth in a way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I don't know what kind of show that would be. I mean, obviously it's her show, but besides that. Mm-hmm. But anyway. So,
yes.
That's very interesting. But I do agree with the character dynamics. Mm-hmm. Okuron and Momo, more so in episode 5, are just really cute together. Mm-hmm. They're both kind of, obviously, sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen it. Yeah. But a very short little thing about the episode is that Okuron and both Momo and Okuron are both kind of contemplating their relationship with one another, because she's like, oh my gosh, she's actually kind of cute, but he's a nerd, and he's like, man, she is great, but I'm also a loner. Does she want to still be friends now that we're back in school and not fighting ghosts and aliens anymore? So it's just interesting, and oh my gosh, I think my favorite scene in episode 5, which this is one of the people I was talking about. So the pink hair girl
Yeah.
In the intro.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one who, like, kind of, like, hits on or flirts with Okarun. You know, she touches his arm and he gets all embarrassed because it's a girl talking to him. And he's also having, like, fight with Momo because she's kind of mad at him and he's, like, confused at her as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Momo's kind of seeing this in the distance, but then when, like, you know, the pink-haired girl leaves, I don't know her name. I don't even know if it's introduced. If it is, I don't know it. I don't really care. But when she leaves Okarun and Okarun's alone, she starts, like, blabbing to her friend group while Momo's walking by about, like, oh my gosh, what a nerd. I'm probably, like, the only hot girl he's ever talked to, and, like, he'll think of me for the rest of his life. And so what Momo does is she levitates a washbin to fall on her head, and I love that scene because it's, like, getting back, and then she loudly proclaims to Okarun how great he is, just, like, and how terrible pink-haired girls who get wash tubs falling on them are bad. Like, it's blatant. It's just great. But anyway.
Yeah, that is really... I don't know, because that's fun, because, like, I don't know, it's funny seeing, like, ISA being, like, immature like that.
Yeah.
Not that she wasn't being immature before, I guess.
They're both immature. They butt heads.
But yeah, it's very fun, though.
Yeah.
It's just...
I don't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
The animation, though, Science Saru is killing it.
It is very good. Because I do know that there's, like, a fight in episode 4 that I've seen, like...
Yup.
Not even clips of, actually. I think I've only seen, like, screen caps of it, but, it looks, like, really hype, and I'm excited to watch it.
You should be.
Because
it's
Science Star definitely does a good job of what they're doing.
I mean, also just, like, the style of, like, this is more so of, obviously, a compliment to, like, the artist, right, the mangaka. I don't know who writes Dotted on my bad.
I don't either.
But, even without that, like, the stylization also just really works. Like, I just love, like, Okarun's turbo graining form. Mm-hmm. It just is cool.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Even, like, before he gets... like his own form and it's just like her popping out. That is also kind of cool to me.
Yeah, it's just cool because it's like, I don't know, supernatural things happening is always interesting, especially with like how different stories handle that. And I find it interesting that like, obviously there's not this, well I say obviously, but like past the first couple episodes, this hasn't been touched on yet more, and I'm hoping it eventually will be either this season or future seasons, right? And it's just throughout the story. But the idea that like somehow ghosts and aliens are somehow alike is interesting too.
Because they are both, like, supernatural entities, but the way that they interact or not with each other, the way that they interact with people, I guess, in the show is very similar.
Yeah, but
which you
like,
wouldn't think
when
you're thinking about, like, what do ghosts do versus what do aliens do.
Yeah, I'm like, to me, a ghost is in incorporeal form, and an alien is more tangible, but how they are both treated by, like, the, like, what is it, like, the little talisman are both the same.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least in episode 2, right, with that big old alien, but it's treated as if it's a ghost warding onto the property.
Was it an alien? I actually was not sure.
Well, Okarun said it was, but, like, it's also confusing because Momo's like, but that reacted, like, our wards reacted as if it was a ghost. So they're both like, are they the same? Mm-hmm. But it hasn't been touched on more yet. Yeah. We'll see about that. That'll be something I'm looking forward to. Mm-hmm. Going more in depth. Yeah, but the 5th episode is cute, too, because, again, spoilers, but Turbo Granny, not dead. Still out there. But now, you know that cat in the ending? That is her. Mm-hmm. She's that quirky little cat. And it's just funny, because she basically just gets subdued, because what ends up happening is her powers are stuck in Okarun, but she's in this cat. Like, her consciousness is in the cat. And you'll find out, like, how that works in episode 5.
Yeah.
But but it just, you know, that's why, if you watched it, Okarun is still missing a couple things.
Yeah.
Without blatantly saying it.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, like, my stuff I want to talk about with Dotted On. Anything else to say?
Yeah. I mean...
You can go, Ashley. Go for it.
No, I don't really have that much else to say. Opening's still good. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah.
I mean, but
even the ending...
does hit every time.
Even the ending kind of works for me, too.
Yeah, I actually don't think I've, like, listened to the whole ending.
Yeah.
Because I've been watching it on Netflix.
Fair.
And so, like... Netflix will do that thing where it just like auto
plays
or like,
well, you can stop it and then keep it playing the ending.
Yeah,
too.
But I usually don't, or like I just haven't been.
That's fair.
So it'll like play a little bit of the ending, and then it'll skip on to like the next episode, or like if I'm caught up, it'll skip on to like some other show, and I'm like, okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much what we have for Dotted On. Obviously, since we've talked about before, not too much to add on. We'll obviously talk more on our final episode 2 about like concluding fall anime and predictions for the winter season for 2025, etc. But on to what I'm really hyped about. Okay, Blue Box. I just want to preface, I feel like I did a total disservice with how I ended last episode, saying, if only because it's the Shonen Jump series. I shouldn't have like downplayed it. It's actually good. Like, I don't know why like, if it's been in Shonen Jump this long, I guess I should have known it's actually good, but, like, I guess I just didn't have the belief, but, how do you feel? I know you've watched less than I have.
Yeah, I've only watched the first episode, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I didn't think, because I also watched it after, watching the show that I'm going to talk about later on.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I'm switching from, like, essentially shonen to romance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to care about this as much as I did the other show. But I did watch the first episode and I liked it a lot, and I wasn't expecting it. It helps that, like, the animation and everything, like, it's really well.
It's so pretty.
It's not even just the animation, it's like the coloring.
It's just
the
lighting.
The stylization of it is really good as well.
Really good.
Like, even I noticed there are a bunch of shots where, like, oh, this is so bad of me, I don't remember the main guy's name. Taiki? What's the main guy's name?
Taiki, yeah. It took me a second.
He's, like, talking to one of his friends in the badminton team, and, there are, like, shots where you can see people, like, playing sports in the background, and they're, like, moving in, like, 3D, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of 3D shots, but it's not bad.
It's, like, noticeable, but it's, like, oh, it, like, adds to the scene.
It does.
Which is really nice.
Yeah. It's better than just having a still two people playing, because that's just not
I
normal.
also, one of my favorite things about this show so far, and again, I'm not, like, that far into it, so I can't really...
No, you're fine.
like, definitively say, oh,
I'm a little further, so I can talk without it.
But, I don't remember the girl's name either. Chinatsu? Yeah.
Chinatsu. That's why I was hesitating on his name. I was like, I can think of her name, but what is his name? It took me a second to be like, it is Taiki.
But Chinatsu herself, like, even though I don't know that much about her other than, like, she likes basketball a lot and is, like, really dedicated to it, she's an interesting character.
She feels also just so realistic.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, you're seeing it mainly from Taiki's perspective. I mean, obviously, after the end of episode 1 where she moves into his house, of course, it's a little weirder. But, like, you still really get mainly his perspective on things. I mean, you know, his desire and crush on her. Yeah. As opposed to, like, she's just kind of, like, an acquaintance who becomes a friend. And then hopefully something more, obviously, for him. But not too much to be said at this point. Like, she's definitely not crushing on him. I mean, she's also the senpai in the relationship. She's older. So it's also an interesting dynamic. I'm pretty sure it's pretty common in romance anime at this point. But, like, you know...
I don't know, I also like I don't even know that this is that uncommon in romance anime either, because I was gonna say I like the reversal of it being, like, him crushing on her as opposed to the opposite.
I feel like it's typically common.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's, like...
I feel like the way it's done in this is nice.
It's nice.
He's not, like... He likes her a lot, obviously, but it's not, like, that... I was gonna say it's not weird, which, like, it isn't.
I know what you mean. I feel like a lot of times it's portrayed in anime, it's just kind of awkward because it's, like, a really, like... I feel like the kohai is shy, too. They're not an extrovert, or they're, like... It's weird why they're crushing on the senpai. Yeah,
that was what I was gonna say. It's
but, like, it makes sense. They're both in sports. They literally are in the same gym all the freaking time, practice. Like, I get it. Like, and she's also the star of the basketball team, and she's, like, she's popular, period, in her school. So it just makes sense, right? You know, and she's... Anyway.
Yeah.
But to speak more on it, I really just know those two names. I know there's other names for the characters. Do I remember them? No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Taiki's friend, the
gray-haired,
the guy with the glasses, I don't know his name.
The pink-haired chick she's actually really good at
Hina?
Hina, maybe?
I think. I could be wrong about that.
You could be. It sounds familiar, but it also just sounds like another name to me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her because I was going to say her dynamic with Taiki is really funny.
Yeah, I will say it's also interesting because, like, I was thinking they were going to play it up as, like, she likes Taiki.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But the way they've done it, at least in the latest episode that I watched, episode 5, it's kind of true because she seems, like, a little upset at certain things about Taiki liking Chinatsu, but she doesn't seem to understand why. And it makes sense to me because it's like she clearly has had this long-standing friendship with Taiki. So it makes sense that she wouldn't understand because, like, probably all she knows is that he's like Chinatsu senpai. So to her, at least to me, it makes sense that she shouldn't recognize that she feels romantic because some of these things could just be like it's just her being bothered. It feels like the first stages of, like, crushing on someone. Like, you're kind of bothered that they're hanging out with someone else.
Yeah, but
like,
that could all she knows, it could just be like, oh, my friend's hanging out. Or wants to hang out with somebody that isn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense how it's portrayed right now. And it definitely feels like the first few stages, not like she's been in love this whole time and it's a third, it's a triangle. No, it doesn't feel like that. And I feel like it helps, too, that, like, it makes sense why.
Yeah. Because
she clearly likes hanging out with Taiki. And her interactions with him are a little different. At least from what I've seen. But I think the reason I really enjoyed this anime is because, romance tends to be so cliche that I don't like it. Obviously, should I say this after recommending 2 romance anime from last season? Maybe not, but I think what works for this is the character relationships, as well as, like, the characterization of Taiki himself, because you get to spend more time with him, that you end up learning, like, I don't know how to, I'm not going to say this verbatim, but it's like, I think in episode 2 or something, he's fighting with this senpai, the red-haired guy. His name I still don't remember, and I definitely should remember, because he keeps coming back. Like, he ends up, anyway, he's like one of the better badminton players in the team, and he's a friend with Chinatsu, and so Taiki's like, are they, like, together? Because, like, he calls her Chi, a little nickname. Oh. And he's like, oh my gosh, are they, like, together? Like, does he like her? And so they have a practice match against each other. And when he loses, he's, like, upset, but he's talking to, the glasses friend about, man, did you see that? I almost received it, like, or served it back or whatever. Yeah. And his friend's like, I thought you'd be more upset because, like, you think he's with Chinatsu senpai. And he's like, what Taiki says back is, like, really solidifies, okay, this is going to be a good story. Is I don't ever want her to be an excuse for me to lose. Like, in other words, he's separating his love for badminton from his love for her, and I'm like, okay, that's so real. Because, like, I'm sorry, you can have a crush, but, like, if I'm in love with badminton, I'm not thinking about my crush in the middle of a match. Like, no. Oh my gosh!
In on this right
now. My gosh, they're watching. No, they're not. Who cares if they're watching me? I'm locked in.
That's the other thing about, like, romance. Well, I guess this is unique a little bit because it has to do with sports, but that's the other thing about romance anime to me that feels cliche. It's like they drop, like, whatever thing they're interested in, or, like, oh my god, like,
it's just too unrealistic.
Yeah. Like, they stop. Well, I don't. This isn't across the board, obviously, but it honestly, like, sometimes it'll feel like the main characters will, like, stop having their own personality for the romance, and I'm like, okay,
I agree with that. I haven't watched that many romance anime. Like, I know one of the biggest ones, Kaguya-sama. Never seen it. Maybe it does that well too. Like, I mean, like, not that. Right. But I feel like some of the ones you hear about in cliche ones are like that. The ones you like. Also, when I say cliches, like, I don't like what you just said, and I also don't like the fact that someone would literally just spend all their time focusing on this other person. It's like, you have a life, you're probably in school, because that's what most of these romance anime are about. It's like high school, right, romance. But anyway, I think the last thing I want to touch on for Blue Box is just, I like how, even though she's living with Taiki's family, it doesn't feel like it's contrived. Like, obviously it's a plot device, like, anyone can see that a mile away. That's where we start. But, like, it doesn't feel like it's forcing the relationship. It feels like this relationship of friendship is coming naturally, and then obviously he still has a crush on her, so it's more awkward on his end with some, like, unrealistic embarrassment. Like, of course, okay, why are you embarrassed? It's like, whatever. I mean, I get it, you being embarrassed, but some of them are just over the top, but it's okay, it's anime. What are you gonna do? But, like, how she starts to feel a little more kinship to him rather than just, like, senpai kohai kind of relationship feels natural to me. Because what happens in episode 4, I think, is she says to Taiki, like, you're training really hard. You can afford to take a break, like, afford loosely, like, you have a couple more years, because he's just entering high school, and he's like, no, I can't wait, because obviously he wants to make it a nationals for her, but she doesn't know that. But so she thinks she just said something really insensitive to him, and so how she comes across trying to deal with that is, well, not only is he a friend to her now, but they're also living together, and she feels like she, like, snubbed his own dedication to badminton. And I'm like, that is so relatable. Like, and it makes sense that she would understand and feel this way afterwards and guilty, because she's also a sports player. Like, she understands the desire to want to win now, even if I have a couple more years of high school to do that. No, I want to win now. She understands that. And so I'm like, okay, I love how these elements are relatable and realistic. They're not just, like, there to make them love each other. You know what I mean? But I don't know what more to say about Blue Box. That's kind of how I feel, and I'm excited for it. Like, again, it's not revolutionary. It's just, I definitely downplayed it, and it didn't deserve that last episode for that comment. So it's definitely worth checking out. I recommend it. It's also just pretty. Like, it's just a really pretty anime.
It really is.
Good animation. Even the 3D doesn't bother me, because it's like, most of the time they use it for, like, court shots, then like pans and angles, then, like, actual, or if they use movement, it's like background characters that are just playing together.
It's, like, definitely noticeable, but not, I don't think it takes away from anything.
Anyway, I don't want to get into that. Okay.
So the anime that I want to talk about, and, like, maybe sort of pitch, is Wisteria Wand and Sword. I watched the first 3 episodes of it. So the plot.
Okay.
Now, this is interesting because, like, I went into it completely blind. Like, I knew that it was, like, a pretty big anime recently, and that's it.
Yeah.
But the plot itself, so the main guy, like, I don't know if you've seen any visuals of the show, actually.
I've seen, a fight clip, and it looked really pretty. Like, well, I mean, like, well animated.
Yeah. Black hair guy with glasses.
Yes.
He's the main character. His name is Will.
my gosh, like Harry Potter. sorry.
So the overall, or at least so far, because again, I'm only 3 episodes in, so it could get like way better than this. But so far, Will is in this like magic school, and he's the only one that can't use magic.
So like Mashal?
Yeah, well,
you probably haven't seen Mashal.
I haven't seen Mashal, so I
but
don't
like
know.
the premise is like Saitama in Hogwarts is like what Mashal is.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's a lot more goofier and satire-y, because I've seen it. But like essentially he's literally doesn't have magic.
Yeah.
So he just uses brute force and punches people.
But this one is interesting because like he's in like the plot is he's in this magic academy where like you kind of have to be able to use magic to be in the academy. Okay. So it's like interesting that he's like first like wanting to be in this school at all, and like secondly he's gotten as far as he has, honestly.
Yeah.
But they explain it by being like, well, okay, so the reasoning for him wanting to be in this school in the first place is he has like this childhood friend from like however long ago who it's weird to explain actually, because like the structure of their society is that they have these like top mages that like once you graduate the school that he's currently at, you like have you're not like immediately like made one of those top mages, but you have like the potential to, yeah. Okay. And so, or that's like one of the things that you can do, I guess. And his like childhood friend like went through the school and like is like really adept at magic and stuff like that, and so she eventually makes it to being one of those top mages. They have like a name for it and I forget what it's called.
It's fine.
But she like makes it into that like elite set of like mages, I guess. And the like thing with those mages is that they're like locked into this like, or not locked, but like they're kind of separated from the rest of society. Okay. So like he can't interact with her unless she like,
that's depressing.
yeah, unless she like goes down like not to Earth. It's weird because like the way that they're locked up, I guess, is they're in this like big tower.
When you say locked up, you mean like isolated for like research or something, or you mean like
it's mainly isolated?
Okay, I was going to say
it's not like they're like locked away, like they gotta be up there, because they're allowed to like leave. It's just like they kind of don't.
Gotcha.
For their research, essentially. So long story short, he doesn't see her a lot.
Yeah.
Or like even if he does, she's not like leaving for him specifically.
Okay.
So like his main goal is he wants to go like through this academy in order to like get to the same position that she's at. His main drive is that he wants to see her again. Problem is like he can't really do it the same way that she did because he doesn't have the aptitude for magic. That's the other thing, is that it was interesting to me how they phrased it. It's not that like, because I'm not really sure which it is, if like the people in the society are born like with powers, or if it's with the aptitude for magic.
That's what I was curious about, because for Mashal at least, if you're not born with magic, you're killed.
Yeah.
Like if you're a baby, you don't have magic, you're just left to die. So that's why Mash shouldn't technically be alive. So someone like harbored him. So that's why he like also acts as if he has magic until he's found out, and they're all like, how is this guy strong? And it's just, he's insane, like Saitama, like just, but it's weird. It's more funny. It's more comedic and satirical on Hogwarts and Harry Potter and stuff, right? Yeah. Literally the name is ridiculous. But anyway, so that was interesting to me, because like in that society, you either have magic or you're dead.
Yeah.
Because people who don't have magic are just killed.
Yeah, because this one is also interesting because like, he's the, like, originally I thought it was kind of corny that like he's the only one that can't use magic in this like magic school, but I guess the way that they like explain the premise, it makes sense, because I was originally wondering like, well, why aren't there more people who don't have the aptitude for magic like in this setting? And then I realized, oh well, it's a magic school, so they're not gonna be there.
I guess
but like,
I would wager in large society you either have magic aptitude or you don't. I would wager there's a mixture.
So yeah, that's his main motivation throughout the show, and like again, I'm only 3 episodes into it. The other thing is that the sword part of the show is he is like, they're different. The school is set up so that you have to have a certain amount of, well, it's like normal school, like you have to have a certain amount of credits to graduate. The problem with this school is that like a lot of the credits within it are like involve the use of magic, which he can't do.
Yep.
So what he has to do instead is like, this school, and again, I don't really know why, but this school has like a dungeon in it where you can like, and this is what I understand, it might not actually be this way, but you can do certain tasks in the dungeon to rack up points, like they call it praxis, I think. Okay. And so his like main thing is like, okay, well, I'm just gonna use, like, I'm gonna go in the dungeon, like, get my credits through praxis alone, because that's all I can do. Like, I can't use magic and do whatever, like, they have other names for ways you can get credits. But bottom line, he can't do it. Like, honestly, I will give the show props. Every episode so far has had, like, a really cool fight scene with Will.
Okay.
Where he's, like, doing his, like, I don't know how to describe it.
Fighting.
Sword fighting, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's really well animated. Music also slaps because the same guy that does the soundtrack for My Hero and for Haikyuu is the one doing it for Restoria.
Now I gotta check it out.
Yeah.
Just for the soundtrack.
So that part's really cool, but yeah, I don't know. It's so far, it's fine.
You don't know if it's like a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
It might just be. Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, I didn't go into it with expectations, really. Like, I didn't know what it was going to be about. The other thing I will say is that I watched the first episode in the sub and then the second in the dub because I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the dub better because Will's voice in the sub is kind of annoying.
Oh, is it like...
To me.
What does it sound like? Is it like squeaky or something?
Well, it's not even annoying. It's just, like, he's got that, like, meek anime protagonist voice.
It's like Deku.
Yeah.
I'm curious now. I'm curious because
that's why I don't know if this is a pitch so much as it is like this was interesting.
That's so weird. I mean, I've heard good compliments about the animation, so that's why I was curious. Now that I know the soundtrack, though, that's even more reason. I'll try 3 episodes and give it a shot and see how it goes. Mm-hmm. Now it's the one I want to pitch.
Yeah.
Orb on the movements of the Earth. It's a mouthful, but it's actually Orb is what I'm going to be calling it. It's on Netflix. If you didn't know, it's definitely darker, but man, do I love it. I haven't watched the latest episode because I've been busy, but I've watched 5. It's good. It's like, I'm trying to like gush without spoiling because I really, okay guys, what you gotta do is if you're interested, watch at least up through episode 3. And if you're hooked, like I am, okay. Mm-hmm. So essentially what it's about, so I'm just gonna spoil the first like couple episodes, not the third though, because it has a good twist that I want y'all to watch. So it's basically about this like genius kid in like 15th century Poland, kind of doesn't support the solar system, if you don't know. Back then, they thought everything revolved around the Earth. Mm-hmm. That's what the church promoted. That's what people believed. Yeah. Because if you don't believe the church, you're not alive.
You're out.
You're out. And you're basically like killed. Well, because at that time it's like you've sinned against God.
Yeah.
And the church is like in charge of everything. Mm. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna kill heresy, right? So it's interesting because that's how the premise starts. But the kid is like two-faced. He doesn't believe. He's like, I'm just gonna live an easy life, go to college at my genius age of, I don't know how old he is, like 14? I don't know. Mm-hmm. He's like really smart. And he was adopted, right? And so he's just gonna do the easy life. But then they this scientist was researching something, but he recanted. You get 2 chances with the church. If you recant and say you won't do it again, you don't die. Yeah. And you get released. But if they catch you again, then you're automatically executed because you've like used your one freebie essentially. Yeah. So he comes back. He basically blackmails this kid. So he like blatantly blackmails him because he's a good eye. And the kid likes astronomy, even though his adopted dad was like, you need to stop astronomy, focus on philosophy. Mm-hmm. Obviously implying something's going on. So the released astronomer blackmails him because he doesn't have good eyes anymore to look at the stars, and his bad research was astronomy because he was like, he basically just tells the kid, yeah, what you've been living is a lie, because like what basically he promotes and what this story promotes, which I find really interesting, is the fact that the heliocentric model is important to prove, not because they're against God, but because they believe so much in God that they have to believe in this system. Because basically what the church says, like what most people believe, is that this world sucks. We just need to get into heaven. We just need to die in a good way to get into heaven because this world sucks. So basically what he wants to prove is that this is like the model of like everything revolving around the Earth is like really erratic. Have you ever thought about it? It's really crazy because basically like what Mars does, it basically goes, depending on when you start, it'll go in a normal circle, but then it'll backtrack on itself because they basically each do like a loop, and it's like that makes no sense. Why is it making a loop around us? So it's a really weird pattern these planets have if you think they're revolving around the Earth, which obviously isn't true. We know that now, thank God. Imagine if we didn't. But anyway, so but when he brings out the whole heliocentric model, it's a perfect orderly system that works for every planet, because the Earth-centric model doesn't work for every planet because they all move erratically differently, and like the sun, it's just ludicrous, right? And so he wants to prove that this world is beautiful because there is order and beauty in our soul, in our system, in the stars. It's not just all this like terrible life and then we go in heaven. And this kid he kind of falls for this, I mean, like, not in a bad way, not like he gets tricked into this, but he believes in it. And it's really interesting because then that's what you follow is like, well, turns out he proves the solar system. Like, he makes a diagram of it. And guess who finds it? People from the church.
Oh.
Great. So he ends up, like, having, like, trying to figure out what to say to these people because otherwise they're going to take him away to be tortured. And he'll be a heretic. But then the old guy that came back for a second chance admits that it was him. And so then they take him off and he gets executed. And so the kid is like, man, I'm gonna do my thing. Because what he leaves behind is this little orb with little 3 holes to, like, show where he buried all his research. Because that's what they were talking about. Is like, hey, these mountains look like Orion's belt.
Oh.
My research is... So he just leaves the research and trusts to this kid to continue his legacy and more so continue the research. And the kid's like, I want to prove this in my lifetime. So I don't want to spoil the 3rd episode because that's where it really gets good with the kid. But a slight spoiler, just to make you want to watch, is he does get caught. But then how episode 3 ends, I'm like, this kid's resolve, man. I am here for it. And then I'm so excited to continue this show. I don't know how to, like... I really wish I could spoil to make you watch it, but I need y'all to, like, watch episode 3 and be just as impressed by me about where the story goes. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because, like, I knew that the premise was that it's this kid, like, trying to prove the heliocentric model, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize that there was that aspect of it where, like, he's trying to, like, make it. Because also you're bringing up that, like, the church is like, yeah, we just gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like, yeah, that's interesting, actually. I like that part of it, where he's not even... It's not like the spin where it's like, oh, this is the right way to do it. Why are you saying it's the wrong way? It's more like, no, the world is, like, beautiful. You should want to be in it.
Yeah. You shouldn't want to just be like...
we'll be in heaven anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't want to overhype it because, you know, it's not like... Do I think it's, like, pretty great? Yeah. Do I think it's, like, the best thing you're ever going to see? No. But I do recommend it, and I do say at least watch up to through the 3rd episode. And if you still don't like it enough to continue, that's fine. But that's kind of what we wanted to say. So I definitely recommend Orb. Don and Blue Box for sure.
Yeah.
Wisteria, now I'm curious. I want to check it out.
Wisteria, I think, like... I don't not recommend it. It's interesting enough.
That's fair. I mean, like, if you want to watch, like, I don't know. I feel like right now... People are hyped for Mashal, so that might help too. I don't know.
I think, like, the ending of episode 3 is interesting enough for you to continue it, I would say.
Same for Orb. But that was what we want to talk about. Our final episode of the season, unfortunately, yes. We're hoping to come back. We'll see. Cross fingers. But last episode will be another little, like, season shift, you know, for just like we did from summer to fall. We're going to do fall to winter. I don't think winter anime will have dropped by then, but we're also in college, so we have winter break. We're not going to be recording during that time. I apologize. Yeah. So we're just going to give our takes on fall anime with as many episodes as we can. Just conclude. We won't talk too much about ones we focused on, but we'll, like, hit the beats, and we'll probably focus more on winter. Anyway, but that's for next episode. So, yeah. For SGTV, I'm Quincy Lell.
And I'm Audrey Williams.